Right now at 5, first responders spent yesterday in training in the event of a full-scale emergency.
And we finally have some rain chances in the forecast later on tonight.
Plus, construction around Block 22 in Pittsburgh is beginning to wrap up. We'll hear from a few business owners about the effect construction has had.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Elise Snowy.
And I'm Lindsay Gaffney.
Yes, and it's Thursday here in the 4 states. Just one more day till Friday. We were just chatting about that.
I don't know about anybody else out there, but it has felt like a day off.
Yeah.
Tuesday felt like a Wednesday. Today feels like a Friday. But that's okay, because that's just like one extra day in the week that we get to enjoy.
Absolutely.
Especially after the showers tonight. It's going to feel great this weekend. But we can go ahead and we can take a look outside. Temperatures right now are in the 50s, 59 in Joplin, 57 in Pittsburgh. Partly cloudy skies, especially out in Joplin and Pittsburgh, but we do have a couple of showers already passing through that we saw yesterday. A couple of those isolated storms still popping up. Not much accumulation, only maybe 1/10 of an inch. Garnett, Mound City, Girard have gotten rain. Everywhere else, not so much, maybe a couple of sprinkles. Now, one shower still making it out towards Mound City and pushing past, but it's already starting to die down, so we're not really expecting any more rain this morning, but we are going to have more showers later on tonight. We've got those partly cloudy skies from the scattered showers that have already started to pass, and winds have already started to pick up as well, gusting up to 20-25 miles per hour, especially out in the southeast. Carthage, Joplin, Mount Vernon, Cassville, Anderson, Fort Scott, Iola, Nevada. Now those are going to continue and even strengthen ahead of this front, and our marginal risk from that was in Kansas City is shifted south, so now clipping some of our counties, Woodson County, Allen County, not to mention a few of our big outside northern counties. So we are going to expect some of those thunderstorms to actually push further in as we head into tonight, not really starting until after 9 p.m. But we'll talk about all those details coming up.
All right, we'll see you soon, Lindsay. Thanks. Well, the Joplin Regional Airport held a full-scale emergency response exercise yesterday. Now, the event simulated a real-life emergency and lasted several hours. Event organizers say the training puts them on the same level of safety as a bigger metropolitan airport.
We're trying to maintain that, you feel just as safe flying in here as you do LAX. Like I said, because we're held to the same standards of them. Everything that we do when we go through our inspections is to make sure that you flying into this commercial airport is the same as flying into any commercial airport in the country, whether we're small or whether we're big.
Now, the exercise is part of ongoing efforts to ensure the readiness of local emergency responders and airport personnel in case of an aviation-related emergency. From residents to realtors to city leaders, Pittsburgh community members gathered together to focus on housing needs. Now, the meeting was an open house forum for the city and consulting firm Novogradek to gather community input on new housing needs for Pittsburgh. Now, it's been 10 years since Pittsburgh last completed a housing needs assessment, and a lot has changed. Well, city leaders asked participants to describe the current state of the housing market, and they discussed housing-related needs and specific barriers preventing Pittsburgh from meeting those needs. Now, one barrier, the current cost to build.
There's a problem with new construction because it's very expensive. A lot of buyers want into a new home but just can't quite pay the price that's required.
Now, the consulting firm plans to take feedback from yesterday's open house and conduct surveys on local housing stock and eventually put together a new housing assessment recommendation. Well, the Joplin Health Department held a free car seat safety class. Now, they taught the class how to choose the right car seat for the child's height and how to choose a safe car seat brand. Now, the class was open to all parents, grandparents, and caregivers to learn the correct way to place a child in a car seat, especially in the winter months when a child may be bundled up.
hook them into their car seat with no extra padding or blankets around them, and then put the blankets, tuck them in around them once they've been belted into the seat belt of the car seat.
Now, during the winter months, she recommends putting the child in the car seat harness and then putting their coat on backwards on the outside of the harness. The scaffolding along Block 22 in Pittsburgh is no longer wrapped around businesses. It was put there to prevent accidents from falling cement. Now, businesses say it looks much better and customers are returning, but that wasn't the case during construction. KOAM's Lonnie Walton takes us to downtown Pittsburgh for the story.
In the month of September, my business was down 53%, which is a lot.
Melissa Lewis is the owner of Poppy May. She says she's got a lot of help with her business during the Block 22 construction, but she says she's still suffering.
No one can make up for the loss that we experienced as small business owners with that much going on.
Co-owner of Toast, Roger Horton, says some customers didn't even know they were open.
You see all that scaffolding up, unless you see 5 people walk in, why would you know it's open, So
Not only did it put strain on a lot of businesses, parking was another issue.
the hassle of, well, I got to find a parking space around the corner because all the spaces are filled up with construction work.
Students who live on a block say they love the open space.
Feels pretty good because parking's back and everything. But now it's open and the sunlight's shining down on the open door.
And Lewis leaves us with a few words of wisdom.
You want small businesses to stay in your community, you have to support them. You have to shop them.
Reporting in Pittsburgh, I'm Lonnie Walton, KOAM News.
Now, Lewis says she will participate in various community activities to bring more business to her store. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes coming up on the KOAM Morning News. The Chiefs get some much needed help at wide receiver. Plus, many are dead or injured after an attack on a Turkey aviation company. And will we see any rain? Well, Lindsay Gaffney will have a full look at your forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Is tied with Silver Lake, and the two of them each have exactly 118 team strokes. Now that forces a playoff, which the Lady Panthers win to give them the Class 3 1A state title. Now, this is Colgan's third golf state championship in the last 4 years. Now, Colgan actually trailed Caney Valley after the first day and 2 strokes behind. Now the Bull Pups still put together a top 5 finish, coming in at 5th place. And here's a look at the individual leaderboard. Amelia Bowles from Rawlins County takes first place, 1 stroke ahead of Margaret Ulrich from Wichita Collegiate. Now Colgan has 2 top 12 finishers in Ava Sparsick and Daniela Vogmore. Now, Molly Swayze and Lauren O'Brien also finish in the top half of the field. And Addison Coombs and Kate Smith finish in 42nd and 49th place, respectively. Well, high school volleyball district tournament play continues this week. McDonald County and Webb City square off this evening, and one of their seasons will come to an end. Class 4 District 6 volleyball tournament over in Springfield. The 1 seed Webb City meets McDonald County in the quarterfinals. Lady Mustangs winners last night in the first round against Parkview. Cardinals lead 1-0 and will start in the second set. Long rally. Cardinals get it to their go-to player. Jaylee Rutledge slams it down for the kill, and the Cardinals take the second set easily. They're up 2-0. A third set, Webb City on the serve, and check this out. Savannah Crane puts it in the perfect spot for the ace. Next serve, Crane again puts it where the Mustangs can't dig it, and again, 3 aces in a row from Crane. Cardinals running away with it. Skipping ahead, Mustangs rally, but Crane this time right at the net spikes it down for the kill. Webb City sweeps McDonald County in straight sets and moves on to the semifinals this Friday. Well, the Chiefs make some news early yesterday morning. Now they've already started the season 6-0 and now add a big name wide receiver to their roster. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Chiefs are finalizing a trade with the Titans to acquire DeAndre Hopkins for a 5th-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Now that pick could reportedly become a 4th-rounder if Kansas City makes the Super Bowl and Hopkins plays at least 60% of the team's offensive snaps. Now Hopkins is a 5-time All-Pro wideout. 2024 is his 12th season in the NFL. Hopkins accumulated over 1,000 receiving yards with the Titans a year ago, but that production went way down early this season. In 6 games, Hopkins has 15 catches, 173 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown with Tennessee. Now over to college football. Tough news for Mizzou fans. The Tigers' leading rusher, Nate Noel, is reportedly out for this Saturday's top 20 matchup on the road at Alabama. Now that's according to ESPN's Pete Thamel. Noel is dealing with a foot injury and is averaging just under 6 yards per carry so far this season. He left last week's game against Auburn in the first half and came back to get just 1 carry in the second half. Well, still to come, we'll have an inside look at what it's like to live with disabilities that prevent you from learning. Plus, Lindsay will have a check of the 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Well, taking a look at downtown Pittsburgh, we've got some clouds out there, but most of the rain has stayed just north of us, a couple of isolated showers. Now, today we're getting pretty hot. Yesterday we got up to the low 80s, which is close to a record, but definitely not close to the average for this time of year. And our low was about 10 degrees above average, so not so bad. But today we're getting up to possibly record high temperatures yet again. We've had quite a few of those this season. Now we did start the morning off with a couple of isolated showers just north of Pittsburgh and near Mound City as well, though only dropped a 1/10 of an inch of rain, maybe a little bit more, not a ton. Now as we move through the day, we're going to have strong wind gusts, 25 to 30 miles per hour. This is by 9 a.m. Sedan, 30 miles per hour. Yates Center and Independence, Newada, 25 miles per hour. But they're just going to strengthen as we head into the late afternoon and early evening because that frontal boundary is starting to push in. So right along that boundary, winds are going to be gusting above 45 miles per hour. And this is, again, early evening. Now, as that boundary moves in, winds do start to die down, and we're looking pretty good for the weekend. A little bit breezy, but not so bad. Much cooler than it's going to be today. 88 degrees in Joplin, Pittsburgh, Miami, Oswego, Welsh. 90 in Parsons, Neodesha, maybe even up to 91 in Sedan, Independence, and Newada. So it is going to be a hot day and also a lot of moisture in there because we are getting those showers later on this evening after 8 p.m., so closer to 9 p.m. And then temperatures are going to drop. So we've got those isolated showers and some scattered thunderstorms as well as we head into the late evening tonight. Now again, highs getting up to by noon, low 80s, upper 70s, 75 in Nevada, 77 in Yates Center, 82 in Joplin, and then getting up to upper 80s by our highs. Now here comes that cold front. This is going to be 8 p.m. You can start to see that frontal boundary moving into our northwest, pushing into Yates Center closer to about 9:30 p.m. And some of these could be strong. Now we saw earlier we've got that low end severe threat, so a level 1 out of 5, not a big threat, but still we could still see a couple stronger thunderstorms as they pass earlier in the night. Now by the time they get to closer to midnight, hitting Nevada, Parsons, Pittsburgh, Girard, Chanute area, that's where we're going to start to see some of these storms dying down a little bit. Still getting the rain, but not getting that severe threat anymore. So then making it into the Joplin Metro by about midnight, 1 a.m., and then finally starting to push southeast 3 to 4 a.m., and then we clear out. Now, not a ton of accumulation. I mean, 1/2 of an inch, maybe in some areas, 1/4 of an inch, but We're really looking at the drop in temperatures after these storms pass. 72 on Saturday, 79 on Sunday, sunny weekend, all weekend long. It's looking fantastic. Now we do start to warm up by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we have another cold front moving in late Wednesday evening into Thursday, and it's a little bit of a jumbled front that moves in and then pushes back. So we've got these chances extending all the way until Saturday morning. But outside of that, it's going to be a great weekend. That's a look at your forecast. We'll be right back.
Topping Health Watch this morning. Well, new research shows hundreds more infants die than expected in the U.S. in the year and a half after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Now, new data suggests the impacts of abortion bans and restrictions enacted by some states after the decision have been large enough to affect broader trends. Now, in the months that infant mortality was higher than expected, rates were about 7% higher than typical. It was an average of 257 more infant deaths in each of those months. About 80% of those additional infant deaths could be attributed to birth defects. Well, new research shows a common gesture could be a sign of a concussion. According to a study published Wednesday in the scientific journal Diagnostics, a quick shake of the head after a hard hit could signal a concussion. Now, the movement is known as a spontaneous head shake after a kinematic event or shake. Now, to better understand it, researchers surveyed hundreds of young adults who played a sport at the high school, college, or semi-professional level. Now, they found the majority of the young athletes were familiar with the gesture and had experienced it themselves. In nearly 3 out of 4 cases, those surveyed said they had a concussion at the time of the shake. Well, October is Learning Disabilities and Dyslexia Awareness Month, and for many people without dyslexia, reading may be a breeze. But imagine looking at a book, street sign, or text message and having trouble deciphering what it says. Now, besides making everyday life more difficult, it can trigger more adverse effects for folks later on in life. Gary Baumgarten reports.
While reading can open the doors to life's possibilities, difficulties comprehending written language can slam them shut.
Not being able to read can impact a student academically, socially, emotionally.
With October marking Learning Disabilities and Dyslexia Awareness Month, doctors say it's critical the public shows support to affected individuals.
Dyslexia is a language-based reading disorder where individuals have very specific difficulties with reading and writing. Those include spelling, they include word recognition or decoding.
Dyslexia is the most common type of learning disability.
Currently, the data shows that 15 to 20% of the population exhibit some difficulties with reading. So they may be exhibiting some characteristics of dyslexia, whether they have a diagnosis or not. And that is 1 in 5.
According to medical professionals at the Cleveland Clinic, signs and symptoms of dyslexia in children can include trouble spelling simple words, issues with telling certain letters with similar shapes apart, being fearful to read aloud, and more.
The earlier one gets the support they need, the better chances they have of overcoming their difficulties.
But some educational experts say many schools lack enough resources to provide students with the help they need.
When we look at the results from the National Assessment of Educational Progress, we can see that 34% of children in 4th grade are reading at a below basic level.
And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We've got chances for rain finally. Tonight, we've got a cold front moving through, and we could see up to 1/4 of an inch, maybe 3 inches or 3/10 of an inch of rain as we head into the overnight hours.
Right now at 5:30, Joplin residents had the opportunity to experience life in a low-income simulation.
And we're starting off the morning with a few clouds, but ending it with some much-needed rain showers.
Plus, Joplin students receive a lesson on why it's important to get out and vote.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:29. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Lindsay Gaffney.
Yes, and it's pretty cool out there right now.
It was a little chilly, but
Yeah,
I
but
think
it's, like, nice.
there's a breeze also,
Yes.
which is kind of cooling
Like
us
that nice
down.
fall crisp
It's
air.
gonna be hot. It's
I
gonna
know.
feel like summer today, unfortunately. But we just talked about the rain showers that we're
Sure.
going to get tonight.
Yes.
Cold front moving in. We also have a few showers kind of starting off this morning, so we can go ahead and take a look outside. Temperatures are in the 50s, 59 in Joplin, 57 in Pittsburgh, so mid to upper 50s. And we're just going to get warmer today after these showers finally clear out. Sunny skies and temperatures in the upper 80s. But so far, we've had a couple of showers and maybe a little thunderstorm just south of Garnett heading into Mound City and Girard as well. Now, most of these showers have started to die down. We didn't get a lot of accumulation, but it was nice for those areas that did get a little sprinkle. Now, so again, 59 degrees out in Joplin, an easterly breeze because those winds are starting to shift out of the south, and winds are also gusting up to 20-25 miles per hour already. Pittsburgh 21 miles per hour, Joplin 22, Miami 18 miles per hour, Mount Vernon nearly 30 mile per hour wind gusts. So those winds are going to continue and even strengthen as we head into today ahead of that front that's moving in after 9 p.m. tonight. And we've even got that marginal risk. It's shifted further south. Yesterday it was just up in Kansas City, but today it's in a few of our counties, Woodson County, Allen County, and a couple of the far northern counties. And so that's going to cause us to have maybe some stronger storms as that line first enters into our area. By the time it gets down to Independence, Pittsburgh, Carthage, Lamar area, likely just going to be some normal thunderstorms and some scattered showers, but I'll have all those details coming up.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. We'll see you soon. The organization One Joplin hosted a poverty simulation yesterday. It gave anyone who wanted it the opportunity to experience a simulated month of living in a low-income situation. Now, in the simulation, every 15 minutes represented a week of living in poverty. The participants were given a family situation, and based on that, they had to navigate everyday life, like budgeting for groceries and transportation. And more than 80 people participated in the event.
You can help individuals to prosper in our community and ask questions, be empathetic about what their situation is, but also talk to policymakers, to our city council members, and talk to them about barriers that we may have in front of our low-income individuals.
More than 80 people participated, and they hope to make it an annual event. Well, this Halloween, registered sex offenders in Missouri will no longer be required to post a sign stating that no candy or treats at this residence. Now, the signs were previously part of a statute that also requires sex offenders to avoid Halloween contact with children, remain in their home from 5 to 10:30 p.m. and leave all outside residential lighting off that night. But a U.S. district judge ruled this month that the sign requirement violates the First Amendment by forcing compelled speech. Now, the Jasper County Sheriff's Department says it has a resource on its website that may help families feel better about where they trick or treat this year.
But required by Megan's Law, all that information is public knowledge, so they can literally go on to and see every sex offender in Jasper County and see where they live.
This year's change to Missouri's Halloween law has some parents concerned. One mother we spoke with says it's taking away an additional protection for her children. Well, Special Olympics of Southeast Kansas yesterday hosted its second ever Senior Unified Olympics in Pittsburgh. Now, the event is a partnership with Special Olympics, Medical Lodges Incorporated, and Dr. Covert Miller's Therapeutic Recreation Interventions for Older Adults class at Pittsburgh State University. Now, athletes 45 years and up were paired with a partner from a senior home around the area and a volunteer to participate in low-impact sporting events, which included cornhole, bocce, and relay walks.
It's really all about inclusion, but more so socialization and relationship building within the generations, within the college, within the nursing homes, within our athletes.
Yesterday's event theme was Through the Decades. With the election day now less than 2 weeks away, some teachers and students at Joplin High School are working to make sure their peers understand why voting is so important. KOAM's Anthony Saviello sits down with them to find out how.
Trying to learn about the U.S. government can be a challenge.
Sometimes we face students who just don't know very much about our government and government systems.
Joplin social studies teacher Andrew Seavey acknowledges the difficulties that come with teaching students about politics.
The Electoral College can be a challenge to understand in and of itself, so teaching that is challenging. So I have a map on my wall that shows the electoral votes for each state.
That same map can be found just a few doors down, where the Joplin Student Council is working to get students excited about voting.
We are creating a ballot so that our students can vote on the actual amendments and propositions that will be on the ballot on Election Day, as well as the national presidential elections.
The mock ballot they are creating gives students who aren't yet old enough a chance to experience what Election Day is like.
I hope the students talk about what they voted for, because it just starts up a really good conversation, and I hope they realize that voting is important.
Come Election Day, Joplin students may not cast real ballots, but the experience could help them in the future.
I tell students all the time that American history and government, world history, geography, all these topics, they're going to have an influence on your day-to-day life for the rest of your life, for everybody.
In Joplin, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
Well, the mock ballots have all the same wording as the Missouri ballot, and the students who cast their mock ballots will be asked their grade level for statistical purposes. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. The Smithsonian opens a new exhibit featuring some iconic artists. And North Korea has sent troops to assist Russia in the war against Ukraine. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Topping World Watch. A number of people are dead or injured after a deadly attack at a Turkish aerospace and defense company. Now, the Interior Minister announcing the attack occurred yesterday at the company located on the outskirts of the country's capital of Ankara. Now, local media reporting a shooting and a blast occurred at this site. First responders did respond. No further details have been released. Well, a homemade firebomb explodes inside a public high school in Chile. Authorities say the explosive ignited a blaze that injured at least 35 students severely and critically. Now, the fire department says 11 students were hospitalized in serious condition with burns affecting their respiratory systems. The initial investigation finding a group of students at the school in central Santiago were making Molotov cocktails in the bathroom to throw at a protest when one exploded. Police say it's still unclear exactly what caused the blast. A teacher trying to help the students collapsed. The incident coming as a street demonstration was planned for later that day in Santiago, which has a history of student activism stretching back decades. The U.S. says 3,000 North Korean troops deployed to Russia. They're training at several locations, and the Biden administration calls the move very serious and warns those forces will be fair game if they go into combat in Ukraine. Jackie Heinrich has the details.
Well, I think they're not tourists. Deterrence has been lost everywhere.
The White House says if North Korea joins Russia's fight against Ukraine, it could have significant impacts in Europe and the Indo-Pacific. And there's looming concern Russia could help North Korea develop its nuclear program.
What does Kim Jong-un think he's getting out of this? Maybe it's technology, maybe it's capabilities. We don't have a good sense of that.
But for now, the Biden administration is just monitoring.
Why not greenlight the long-range missiles for Ukraine's use, which is Zelensky's #1 ask, as you're sounding the alarm?
Well, for one thing, Jackie, we don't exactly know what these guys are going to do.
What else could they be there for?
A U.S. official tells Fox the intelligence community and Pentagon recommended against allowing Ukraine to strike targets inside Russia with U.S.-made long-range missiles, citing greater cost than benefit, including limited targets in range, limited supplies, and concerns Russia would view it as escalation, something that's marked Biden's handling of the war.
Are you waiting on Putin to make the first move, sir?
Biden refused to impose preemptive sanctions as Russia staged troops on the Ukrainian border in 2022 and hesitated to approve each military capability the U.S. later provided. Zelensky exasperated at the developments.
If North Korea can intervene in the war in Europe, then the pressure on this regime is definitely not strong enough.
Officials say Biden has not ruled out a future change in U.S. policy or given Zelensky a definitive no yet.
If these North Korean soldiers decide to join the fight against Ukraine, they will become legitimate military targets.
Right now, the U.S. is considering more sanctions as a response, we are told. But House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Turner says North Korea joining the fight against Ukraine should be a red line for Biden, and he should both greenlight those long-range missile strikes within Russia and also consider direct U.S. military action against the North Korean troops.
And that's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Well, taking a look at downtown Pittsburgh, pretty nice. We do have some clouds still in the area, though clearing out within the next couple of hours. Yesterday, our high got up to low 80s, so we were still pretty warm though yesterday. Today, likely breaking a couple of those records. See, our record yesterday was about 87, record today 86. Today we're forecasted at getting up to 88 degrees. It's gonna be a hot one today ahead of the cold front. Now we've had a few showers already pushing through, though already dying down just north of Pittsburgh near Mound City as well. A couple of, tenths of an inch of rain or so, a little sprinkle here and there, but not a ton of accumulation. But hopefully tonight it will change. Now we've got winds picking up 20 to 25 miles per hour through the morning hours. You can even be pushing 30 miles per hour on Sedan, Independence, and Yates Center. And then winds completely shift out of the south. They start to pick up by early afternoon, gusting 30 to 40 miles per hour, and then even above 40 miles per hour as we head into tonight, just ahead of that front. So this is going to be about 9 p.m. tonight, winds gusting 40, 45 miles per hour, and then that boundary moves in and winds die down after that, back down to about 10, 15 miles per hour, about normal. Now, today, our high getting up to 88 in Joplin, Pittsburgh, 89 in Fort Scott, 90 in Neodesha and Parsons, Veneta as well, 91 Independence and Sedan. So it's going to be a hot, record-breaking day, but we do have that cold front moving in tonight. After about 9 p.m., we're going to start to see those isolated showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorms, and temperatures will be dropping by midnight only down to the mid-70s. So we're going to have temperatures only getting down to mid to lower 60s tonight, but cooler temperatures as we head into the week. Now, by 8 a.m., we've still got mostly cloudy skies, but all of that pushes out, and we're looking good by noon. Again, low 80s. It's going to be hot quick. Upper 80s for our highs, but sunny skies looking pretty good. And we've got that nice breeze, 40, 45 miles per hour as we head into the night. Now, 8 p.m., we can start to see that line already forming near Wichita up to Kansas City and pushing into our area closer to 9:30 p.m. Now, it starts off, we have that low risk, so that level 1 out of 5 risk starts off decently strong. We could see some strong thunderstorms in there. And then by the time it hits Parsons, Pittsburgh, Chanute, Erie, Nevada, Fort Scott area, you can already start to see it breaking up, and then it'll continue to shift southeast. We're mostly looking at scattered showers and maybe just an isolated thunderstorm or two, but much weaker than how it started. Now this is about midnight, so far storms start about 9 p.m. and then make it into the Joplin metro by 12:30, 1 a.m. and then starting to push out by 2 to 3 a.m., clearing completely by 4 a.m. and then we're back to sunny skies for the weekend, temperatures reaching upper 70s for our highs on Saturday, low 70s on Saturday, and upper 70s on Sunday. Now we warm back up to the 80s. Then we've got storms starting off Wednesday and continuing through next weekend as a cold front pushes in, but it's a little messy. It starts to retreat and move back in. So we've got some widespread rain showers starting Wednesday and continuing through the weekend. Now let's look at your forecast. We'll be right back.
Well, eagle-eyed fishermen rush to the rescue when they see a man stranded at sea. Patrick Cornell shares that story, and take a look at this.
This dot in the distance caught the attention of a pair of outdoorsmen enjoying a nice day on the water.
Originally, it almost looked like maybe a whale or a dead whale or something.
Upon closer inspection, they couldn't believe their eyes. A fellow sailor sitting on a capsized boat off the coast of Massachusetts. Joe Torme and Nick Whitbeck whipped into action, speeding over to the castaway to offer assistance.
I can't imagine how scared you could be in a situation like that where you can't call, you can just wave your hands.
The man said the boat flipped so fast he was thrown overboard, dropped his phone in the drink, and couldn't call for help. He tried to flag down boats for a full hour before our pair stopped to lend a hand. Joe and Nick got a life jacket on the stranded man and helped get him to the safety of a Coast Guard craft. They hope to see him out on the water again despite this unfortunate incident.
He's definitely, getting the boat fixed, and hopefully we'll see him out there fishing again at some point on the right side of the boat this time.
Speaking of sticky situations, a cell phone snafu left a woman caught in between a rock and a hard place, literally just bare soles of her feet poking out. The walker made a big old Butterfinger blunder, dropping her phone between the boulders in Australia. While trying to retrieve the thing, she slipped and got stuck upside down for 7 hours. Friends tried to pull her out, and when that didn't work, they had to leave to go call for help because, ironically, they didn't have cell phone service. Incredibly, she escaped with only minor scratches, but it probably left her red in the face. For Take a Look at This, I'm Patrick Cornell.
Well, the works of two major groundbreaking artists are on display for the first time at the Smithsonian's Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden in Washington, D.C. The year-long exhibit explores the connection between the works of the late American artist Jean-Michel Basquiat and British artist Banksy.
The Basquiat and Banksy exhibition at the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden is an important one here because we are here in our nation's capital, and these are two artists who are really two of the primary voices that have changed the discourse of art today.
I was very excited to come here because I've never really had an opportunity to see much of Basquiat's art.
It's so interesting how vibrant and visceral things are when you see them in scale.
Jean-Michel Basquiat and Banksy have a shared origin in graffiti art. Basquiat started doing works on the street in New York, in Soho and Lower Manhattan in the late 1970s. And he has a practice that is very rooted in many graffiti art traditions of inscription and drawing and combining text and image. So Banksy is an incredibly important artist because he's an artist with a really strong voice.
He's, I think, probably like the British version of Basquiat, where you don't know who he is.
An artist who is always working to create artworks in response to the environments that he works within.
Banksy in particular has within its frame politics and the kind of social agendas that we're domesticated into.
Art is for everybody. Everybody should be able to see it, enjoy it, love it.
The exhibit runs through October 2025. Stick around. We'll be right back. The imagination of Tim Burton has produced ghosts and ghouls, Martians, monsters, and misfits, all on display at an exhibition that is opening at London's Design Museum just in time for Halloween. Now, the world of Tim Burton reveals Burton to be an analog artist who started off as a child in the 1960s, experimenting with paints and colored pencils, drawing in his suburban Californian home. Now, alongside hundreds of drawings, there are props, puppets, set designs, and several iconic costumes, including Johnny Depp's Edward Scissorhands talons and the Catwoman costume worn by Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman. Keepers at the Whipsnade Zoo in England served snack-filled pumpkins to monkeys, yaks, and babirussas at the zoo yesterday. Now, carved pumpkins were scattered around enclosures. While some pumpkins were filled with treats, others were left empty. Now, the tricks putting the animals' foraging and hunting skills to the test.
Well, we've also got some winds gusting up to 20-25 miles per hour already. Now, rain starts to pick up after about 9 p.m. tonight. We're going to have a line of thunderstorms moving through. Not a ton of accumulation, but still it's going to be nice. Temperatures only getting down to mid-70s by midnight, so it's a hot day today in the upper 80s. But as we head into the weekend after these rain chances, it's going to be much cooler. Now, rain accumulating quarter of an inch, maybe 3/10 of an inch in some of those northern counties, Iola, Yates Center, Fort Scott. But by the time it moves down to our central counties, really just tapers off and we're not looking at much accumulation. But again, tomorrow much cooler, down to the mid-70s, and it continues to drop for the weekend down even to the lower 70s.